Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning 5-1 at Madison Square Garden. And the playoff hopes that they had, which were very slim going into this game, they are all but done now. And again, this has been saying for a while now, this is not a playoff team, but mathematically, they certainly had been in it for a while. And then recently, Montreal has reeled off a winning streak. And the Rangers continue to play just poor hockey and are incapable of beating good teams. Like that, it's every which way you look at it, it's bad. And we'll dissect it in this episode and future ones to come, because really, at this point, it really might be in their best interest. As a fan now, it's almost like if they lose games, I don't even really mind anymore now. And the interesting decision will be if the Rangers do finish in a top 13 draft position, what do they decide to do? Do they keep the pick or do they give it to Pittsburgh? And that's very much up for debate. And we'll have a better idea of that once we get there and to see where the final number is. Everything being equal for me, and look, this is more of a pessimistic outlook with next season's big pick being unprotected. I know as an organization, you can't necessarily think like that, but you got to be realistic. I would probably prefer to give that pick to Pittsburgh this year and have next year's available to you. Now, look, I suppose if the Rangers drop down to, and again, they're really the best that it could be, uh, assuming that they don't win the lottery, which those chances are very, very slim, would be in a best case the 9th or 10th pick, meaning they really have to lose almost every game the rest of the way, and the things around them would have to be just about perfect, right? So, yeah, maybe if you can land inside the top 10, I certainly would have thoughts of maybe wanting to keep it this year, but even then, I don't know because I'm not all that optimistic on the future of this team. And look, we know Peter Laviolette, he is as good as gone. And Chris Drury is more of an interesting conversation. Look, I really am kind of at the point where I'd prefer him to be gone as well. I'm not saying it's all his fault. A lot of this was inherited, but he certainly made his stamp and his mark on this roster. And so with that, it's kind of a situation where Drury, it's, you know, what does Jim Dolan think? And I don't know because I think that with Dolan, he's a total wild card. Either to me, it's like he has full faith and trust in Chris Drury, or he's done with him, right? I know it sounds obvious, but that's just how he rolls, where it's like if someone who he trusts is telling him the Jury's not the guy, he will get rid of him in a heartbeat. On the other hand, if he has full faith in him and he won't go anywhere to make no matter how bad it is, and that again, that can work well or it may not. Again, Dolan to me isn't really all that well informed. Obviously, he's got the Knicks that he's concerned about, but I think my guess, it's really hard to say. Again, Laviolette is for sure gone. Drury, I think, I don't know. I guess my inclination is that he returns. That's just kind of my guess. I don't feel strongly about it. And I don't really trust him to dig them out of this. I just don't. Do I have the answer as far as the replacement? I don't. I don't, you know, I'm not sure who would be the person to, uh, make those very important personnel decisions. But the main thing is this: this team really needs a total um, changing of personalities, and the roster needs a new look completely. And we can go up and down the lineup. We really could. I mean, there are not that many players that there's a few that it's okay. Like you want him part of the future. You want him as part of the future. It is few and far between. So that's the thing. It's more big picture conversations now. And we're going to talk about the Lightning game, and there's again similar issues that happened that I think have reared its ugly head again. And 3 power play goals for Tampa in this game. So the penalty kill has been a problem, but also the power play, even though it did get 1 goal and it was a little bit better looking, they were a problem as well in what kind of turned the tide, because the Rangers did play a pretty good first 10 or so minutes. Then the Rangers get a power play, and from there, it all goes downhill. And the Lightning score 3 goals in 3 goals in a minute and 45 seconds. And we know the Rangers, basically, once that happens, they have shown no ability at all to basically come back in a hockey game. They're the only team in the league that hasn't done so. when trailing by multiple goals. So let's discuss the lineup first, then get into the game. And really disappointing as far as Peter Laviolette and his decision making on some things. First on the defense, Keandre Miller out with illness, and not that I mind Keandre Miller being out, but the fact is that even though we kind of know the writings on the wall, like going into this game, if they had won this game, it wouldn't have been the most outlandish thing to still kind of have a little bit of hope, right? Just again, based on the fact that you would have been 4 points back with 5 games to go. Montreal's schedule, it's a little bit tougher. You could say, okay, we just beat a good Lightning team. The point I'm trying to make is, it's a little bit interesting that Kendrick Miller, and I don't want to question his toughness. I'm not trying to do that, but it is a little bit odd. And what was an important game, right? Like on the surface, for him to miss due to illness, it's a little bit odd to me. I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into that, but he was out for that reason. It wasn't due to injury, so Zach Jones was in for him. And at least with Zach Jones, there is exponential offensive creativity, if nothing else. Again, was the result different? No, it wasn't. But Zach Jones continues to be a seventh defenseman, and Calvin Hahn continues to be that eighth defenseman. And so Jones was with Borgen. It was a 1-for-1 swap situation. Although there were a lot of situations where Jones was with Fox in offensive zone draws when they were trailing. So they mixed it up a bit, but that's what it was. Um, I guess I'll give some evaluations while I'm at it. And man, like Carson Soucy is really, 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 really hard to watch. He was his bad play led directly to the second Lightning goal, where he turns it over, can't get out of the zone, and then is unable to do anything with Yanni Gordon front. So Soucy, I don't know. Like the fact that he's going to be on the scene next year in all likelihood scares the hell out of me. Adam Fox did not have a good game at all. And just, while there's been some moments, Adam Fox has been a very, very disappointing season for him. Like, that's just the way it is. And he needs the one good thing is with the Ranger season ending in about a week and a half, a lot of these guys, Fox included, could use a very long off season. One in which they haven't really had in recent years much, right? Well, they lost the Devils, yeah, kind of. But obviously 2022, 2024, they played deep, into the summer, into June. And, that's not even an excuse, but like the fact of the matter is that Fox needs a really good offseason to get back in shape because he has not been good. Um, for the forwards, Matt Rempe in, Brett Berard out. And look, with Rempe, again, look, he's limited, right? We know that he is skills wise limited, but I liked what I saw from him. Some of the bright spots were involving Rempe, honestly. And so, um, it's unfortunate, and Brett Bard has not played great lately, but for him to be out, this is what I want to get into right now with Laviolette's decisions as far as lines and stuff like that. He basically put together lines that involve basically the veterans. So he went back with Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere. Why? Why exactly? That line has been garbage all season long. It's been terrible. It was amazing last year. It's bad this year. All that line does is stick check. Never throws rarely if ever throws the body that line. They're bad defensively. They're overrated offensively. That line is shit. And he went back to it. I don't know what he's thinking about there. And Lafreniere, he was, he gets a 10-minute misconduct, which we'll talk about, not at length, but Lafreniere, basically didn't play late first period and like deep into the, midway through the second period, he wasn't even out there. Why they went back to that, I have no idea. They basically Zibanejad gets moved back to wing. And look, Zibanejad is better at wing, but it really does hurt your depth. Not that Zibanejad centering the third line or whatever was really doing anything to begin with, but it was Cooley, JT Miller, Zibanejad, which is a line we've seen before, a line that has had some success, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. I mean, JT Miller has not been good. Don't let the points fool you. JT Miller, since he's been a Ranger, it's been disappointing. And I know he's going to be a big part of this, the hope is that he's going to be a big part of the future. I don't know that. I don't know how effective he's going to be. And again, philosophically, it was the wrong thing to do. Trading for him, while it's a trade that made sense when you consider the fact that who you traded away and sort of the pieces to it, was that what you really wanted to do to acquire, an aging player who is maybe at the end of his prime? And look, I don't know. I feel like JT Miller has kind of flown a little under the radar here. His game, it gives me flashbacks to when he was a Ranger originally. This is not, I don't think we're getting the Vancouver JT Miller now. And that's not to say that it won't be better next season, but I'm just calling it like I see it. And a lot of turnovers, a lot of bad penalties. To think that he would have been a piece that could have catapulted him in the playoffs was just faulty thinking on the part of Chris Drury. It just was. And so that leaves you with a line that has been effective before, with Brodzinski centering Offman and Rempe, which was probably your most effective, consistent line, but still, it's unfortunate to move Offman down, which is what they did. And then you want to talk about a ridiculous line? Carrick centering Kreider and Perot. What? That's basically throwing leftovers together. That's all that is. I mean, Chris Kreider shouldn't be playing point blank. I cannot wait till this season is over and we don't have to see Chris Kreider in a Ranger uniform anymore. Yeah. I mean, thank you for all that you've given for all this time. And again, when we do get there, I will be speaking in more of a way of being complimentary to what he has provided in the past. But my God, right now, it needs this. It's got to be over. I mean, to me, I'd be shocked if Chris Kreider's a New York Ranger come next season. And to put Gabe Perreault with them, what is that going to do? And look, Gabe Perreault has not looked great, but it's like I want to see Othman and Perot specifically getting more ice time, getting more opportunity. And Peter Laviolette is going down with the ship. The power play one unit, which was better in this game, and it did get a power play goal, was the guys you'd expect, the main crew, the main core that needs to be gutted. And so, look, I don't think, and it's easy to say this after this game, but it's really how I felt. Like, I don't know the future of this team is all that great. Yeah, there are pieces. There is, and you can go about it the right way. This certainly can be a team that goes back to the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but just in terms of the long term future, I don't know. I'm not too sure. And who's making those decisions? So let's get into this game. Lightning Rangers. Rangers coming off of a bad loss to the Devils, trying to cling on to any sort of playoff possibilities. Tampa Bay is in somewhat of a fight for first place in the Atlantic Division, which right now Toronto has the number one spot. Tampa should at worst finish second with how poorly the Panthers have been lately. I know Ottawa's been kind of doing better, as of late, but I think Tampa is looking at first or second. So they'll have home ice in the first round. It's a matter of what position they'll be. But Tampa was coming in on a two-game losing streak. They lost to Ottawa. They didn't play poorly that game, but they lost. And they lost at Buffalo in the shootout. Again, games where they weren't that bad, but that's never a great thing when you have a good Lightning team coming on a two-game losing streak as well. And Andrei Vasilevsky in net, who looked very good. He really was. I mean, again, the Rangers were not necessarily bad in this game. It's just the typical mistakes, and the Rangers cannot stop the bleeding. That's the thing. How many times have we seen multiple goals allowed within just a couple of minutes of action, if not less than that? That's what happens here. So, like I said, Rangers' first 10 minutes of action were really good. The Rangers were the better team without a doubt. There was intensity, there was a fight to their game, but they weren't successful. Started scoring. And at 10:52, Oliver Bjorkstrand trips Adam Fox. And the Rangers did have chances against Andrei Vasilevsky, most specifically Vincent Trocheck. Trocheck was, at the doorstep and he was unable to score. It's just, nothing that he did necessarily wrong there. And again, I've been critical of Vincent Trocheck. I know he's probably part of the future, but like Trocheck has not been good. Again, I feel like certain people just fly under the radar. He's one of them. He's not been good this season, right? We know the typical people. It's the Kreiders who deserve blame, Zibanejad's, Lafreniere's, again, he's been a joke this year. But we don't talk enough about, I feel like the Trochecks, JT Millers, Adam Fox is kind of a mixed bag. I think some of the fans are, there's a lot of blame to go around here, and that's just the facts. And I did feel bad, for Igor again in this game where these goals, there is nothing he can do. Rangers just leave guys open in front, and we'll talk about that here. But Rangers don't score on this power play, but to make things worse, and again, there were chances, I'll give him that, but Chris Kreider at 12:41 hooks Anthony Cirelli, and Kreider doesn't move his feet. And so when you don't move your feet, you have to take penalties like that. And there's a clear hook, no doubt about it. And actually, after that, on that same play, Tampa Bay almost scored, but it went off the post. I think it might have been Brandon Hagel that took the shot that goes off maybe the crossbar or the post. And so it becomes 4-on-4 for about 15 or so seconds. And within that time, the Rangers get a little bit of an opportunity, but it comes as a detriment, honestly, as Adam Fox He's kind of on a sort of 2-on-1, I guess you wanna say, with Vincent Trocheck, and he tries this spin-around backhand pass that's got no power to it, and it softly, goes to Tampa. And so the Lightning didn't necessarily have an odd man rush, but they have the players you want in a 2-on-2 situation with Fox trying to get back there. Again, I wish I saw a little bit more effort from Fox to get back, but it's a 2-on-2 with the players that were back were Braden Schneider and Will Cooley. And Schneider takes point, and Kucherov beats Cooley. And it's an easy, just, tape to tape pass from point to Kucherov goal. And so it's not necessarily a traditional power play goal that was scored here, but it still goes down the same. And Fox needed to be sure to make a better play, and he didn't. And it leads the other way. Not great defense. Again, the Rangers so many times have given up goals on these, and this wasn't an odd man rush, but in these transition plays, and they don't really defend great. It happens again here, and it is 1-0 Lightning on Kucherov's 34th goal of the season from Braden Point and Jake Gensel. And that's the other thing. Tampa's not only is John Cooper an exponentially better coach than Peter Laviolette, but the top end talent that Tampa has is so much better than the Rangers. Kucherov, Point, Gensel, and just really good role players that also have offensive ability. So you look at this roster and it's way better, right? Victor Hedman and Victor Hedman, isn't even the Victor Hedman that was, the last few years. But again, just the lineup is better. The Rangers' top end talent is highly overrated. And maybe it's not overrated anymore. Maybe it's known. But I think there might be some fans in the National Hockey League that see some of these names and they go, like, there's talent there. It's not what it was. And plus, the Rangers aren't physical at all. So you combine those things, and it's going to lead to a lot of losses like this. So it makes it 1-0 Lightning right there. Then quickly thereafter, it was an avalanche of bad shit for the Rangers. Again, basically from the point of the Kreider penalty and beyond. Yanni Gourde makes it 2-0 at 13:45. His 7th goal of the season, his first with the Lightning since he was reacquired from the Kraken from Goncalves and Hedman. And this was one where Carson Soucy turns it over, doesn't get it out. And then Vincent Trocheck was a terrible poor clear attempt. Trocheck just passes it right to Hedman. Lafreniere is unable to do anything about it. And so the Lightning have a good situation where they throw it in front, and Gourde beats Soucy and backhands it past Shesterkin. So again, I'm sick of Carson Soucy. I'm sick of Vincent Trocheck making turnovers. Alexis Lafreniere basically not having the intensity he needs to make, just normal plays in the defensive zone, and it makes it 2-0 Lightning. And then Sam Carrick takes a penalty. He cross-checks Anthony Straley at 13:54. So Carrick is back to taking a lot of penalties, which we had seen early in the year. Carrick is much better in a fourth-line center role. You have him playing with Kreider on this weird quasi-third line, and it's just not good. And so the Lightning go on the power play, and they score again. Braden Point's 40th goal of the year from Gensel and Kucherov at 14:54. And this was one where Adam Fox blocks a shot by Kucherov, but it leads to a situation where the Lightning have some players in front. Gensel puts it towards the net, and Braden Point just outmuscles Trocheck and Schneider. That's a joke. I mean, Braden Point is one of the best players in the league as far as skill, but for Trocheck specifically to not just body him out, and he's just banging away at it and and he pokes it past Shesterkin. 3-0 Lightning. So just like that, where the Rangers had not control, but they were the better team in the first 10 minutes. They get a power play. Of course, they don't score on it. And right from there, they take a penalty. Boom. Lightning power play goal off the Fox fuck up on the 2-on-1. Then Soucy and Trocheck and whoever else even straight makes it 2-0. And then Carrick takes a penalty, and boom. Rangers are weak in front of the net, and it's 2-0 Lightning. And that would be your score at the end of the first. And to make matters worse, Alexis Lafreniere gets a 10-minute misconduct at 17:27 for basically bitching to the ref for no good reason. Nothing that I saw that would have caused him to do that. And it's just a bad look for him. Look, I'm glad that, I guess there's a level of frustration, but just direct it in a way that's going to help the team. So he would sit again. He would probably be out of action until about the middle of the second period. Rangers come out and they play a pretty good second period, honestly, and they outshot Tampa 18-5 in that second. It really was a good one, but they needed to somehow come out of that period down one, which they didn't. But they do get an early goal, and it was a penalty that Zibanejad drew, a hooking penalty on Tampa at 2:48. And Zibanejad actually gets the power play goal, his 17th goal of the season from Panarin and JT Miller at 316. Kind of an innocent goal where Panarin off the pass from the cross-ice pass from JT Miller. Panarin throws it towards the front and it goes off as Zibanejad skating in legally. He wasn't trying to, it wasn't like a kicking motion situation. And the weird thing is the Rangers haven't scored many power play goals. They had scored 3 in the last like 15 to 20 games or so. All 3 of those power play goals happen to be Mika Zibanejad. So he gets goal number 17. And that makes it 3-1 right there. And again, the Rangers had their opportunities. And nothing, and one of the best ones came at 18-12. JJ Moser slashes Matt Rempe. So good job by Rempe drawing the penalty. And the Rangers, this to me was their last real chance because, and I mean, other teams would have had a chance, but the Rangers don't come back when they're trailing, typically ever, especially by 2 goals. And the Rangers don't score on that power play in the second period. It wasn't with that opportunity. They did have offensive zone time, but they did not score. So again, as much as the Rangers scored that 1 power play goal, it really, they were 1 for 3. Special teams again was a massive problem on the penalty kill side of things. And again, I felt like that power play still wasn't good enough. But so 3-1 Lightning ended 2, and then the Lightning played a pretty good third period. They really did. I mean, the Rangers, played a much better second period. Third period, you never felt like the Rangers really had much of a chance in the third. And eventually, at 11:06, Will Cooley holds Nikita Kucherov. Rangers kill that one off. And on that one, I think is where Mika Zibanejad had a breakaway opportunity that Vasilevsky stops and it goes off of the crossbar and it doesn't go in. The Rangers get, again, their best chances shorthanded. Like, it's just part of me was thinking, okay, penalty, they actually might have a better chance of scoring than an even strength. And then at the 14-minute mark, JT Miller high sticks Ryan McDonagh. A bad penalty by JT Miller that ends up in a goal by the Lightning to totally seal the deal. Braden Point's 41st goal of the season, his second goal of the game from Guentzel and Kucherov at 15:40, and just a nice passing play. And Kucherov, is able to find Guentzel, and then Guentzel with a cross ice pass to Point that beats Susie and Borgen, and Point is easily able to score, make it 4-1. The Rangers pull the goalie down 3, and Brandon Hagel scores his 35th goal of the season. An empty net goal from Ryan McDonagh at 17:18, and the Lightning win 5-1. The Rangers now, their record on the season drops to 36-34-7. 5 games to go. This really has been one of the most disappointing and sad Ranger seasons that I can remember in quite some time. And I'm looking forward to it being over. It's really at the point where, you know what the shame in all this is? It's because I was, in January, I think I was ready for them to lose games. I was kind of embracing that at that point, and they go on a little bit of a run, and you have a poor Eastern Conference, which kind of tricked not everyone, but it tricked a segment of maybe the organization and the team, whatever, into this false sense of, all right, maybe they can like make the playoffs. And sure, it was possible, but this has not been a good team for the whole season. I mean, yes, the beginning they were successful, but even then they weren't good. Even when they were 12-4-1, I was like, this is not impressive. But you felt at that time, all right, well, this will be like a 2023 season, right? That's what it felt to me. And it ended up being so much worse than that second Gallant year. I mean, this is, again, just an absolute embarrassment. And it's kind of all the reasons that I think fans were skeptical about Peter Laviolette as well. It was a pleasant surprise how good last year went under Laviolette. This is the stuff that happens where year 2 with him and beyond, it goes downhill fast. And so it's going to be a much different looking team next season. The question is how much. And with 5 games to go, really what I'm looking forward to most next game is the fact that Sam Rosen and John Davidson are calling the game together on TNT. So that kind of gives, I think, a lot of Ranger fans reason, because that will be fun. I'm sure some old stories will be told. And if the Rangers win, sure. If they lose, whatever. Like that's just where it's at right now. So another disappointing night at Madison Square Garden. We've seen that all too often this year. They're 18-3 at home, which is brutal. And again, just looking forward to the season coming to its conclusion. It's kind of a matter of when they're eliminated. Not yet, but should be pretty shortly, as the Rangers fall to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 5-1, and their playoff hopes are all but over.